He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the race. You have to be kidding me. Fireworks. And here you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and welcome all inside, well, IAbaseball's coverage as we continue on. We've got more to talk about. The season is oh so close, and I can almost taste it. We can almost taste it. And man, Cade, what's seeming like been like in the deep dark off season. I say that, but it seems like, man, we've been under rocks. I know that we've had all kinds of other sports, but man, we're finally to baseball. And I will say, ladies and gentlemen, that if you get the chance, opening practice week as we get things rolling and we're finally into baseball, you don't want to miss the content that's coming on up. I guarantee you that, because it truly is can't miss. Well, I mean, we started off with preseason team rankings, Mr. IAbaseball watch list, and what more could you like off that? You start off with a great bang. Then we start to get into conference previews, notable returners, breakout candidates. And if you thought we were done there, no, we got even more. We're getting you primed and prepped for the season. That includes senior superstars, junior juggernauts, returning pitching cheat sheets. And then we go into sophomores, freshmen, and returning lineups. And then you can digest it. And I'll take a break on Friday and take it in and take it into the weekend and see where you go from there. But in the end, man, so much content coming on up. You do not want to miss out. And again, you hit up IAbaseball on Rockfin. Again, Rockfin/IAbaseball. And not only will you be catching up on some great content, but you help us as we highlight the players, athletes, coaches, and of course, the umpires as well that make this game so great. So please make sure to get up there and keep tabs on everything that is, because we're going all 100 here. We're catching every single angle of things, and so you don't want to miss out. And Cade, there's so much here that almost don't want to get behind.
No, yeah, I mean that's why we put it all in 1 week. I mean you can't miss it. That's literally what it's called, and there's something for every team, which is good. I mean, we got breakout candidates and
Yep.
returning impact guys for every single team, and that's free. You don't have to subscribe. You can just check that out. But I think we got a ton of good stuff for our subscribers too. I mean, every single team mentioned, we got every single conference previewed, ranked.
Yes.
Down the list, we got explanations for the top half of the conference as well. I mean, every single team truly has an impact on this week. And I mean, we got 200 seniors, 150 juniors, 100 sophomores, and 50 freshmen. I'm not very good at math in my head, but that's a lot of names all on one sheet. So there's a lot of schools mentioned. There's a lot of stuff. And truly, it is the most content baseball has seen on Rockfin in a week ever. And I'd almost argue it's more content than we've ever had in a wrestling week. And we get a lot of wrestling content on Rockfin, but this is truly 4 straight days of can't miss stuff. I mean, every day there's going to be something that our subscribers want to see and they're going to get to see. And again, that's the number one way that you can support IAbaseball is subscribing on Rockfin, checking out that content. It supports us and what we do. And it makes Andrew and I able to do this. So we appreciate everyone for over there who is subscribed, and we want to treat you guys. So they're going to get a ton of stuff next week.
Yeah, there's so much that you don't want to miss out on. Again, it's just fun stuff, and it gets you primed and ready here. But speaking about getting primed and ready, we've looked at teams, we've looked at players, and now it's kind of time for the tires to meet the road, the rubber to meet the road, so to speak. We're going to go ahead and we are going to go into our crystal ball here, and we're going to go ahead and try and predict who we might see for the title games in each class. We're going to look at, again, we can either be geniuses or we can get dogged on for this. Either way, it's a lot of fun, and we like to have a lot of, again, we just have a lot of fun doing it. So we're gonna dive into that. And so I think, first and foremost, Cade, I'll bite the bullet and go here first. And I say that only because you could insert about 15 teams into
Yeah.
the spot here. Honestly, for me, the first team I'm going to put in there is Remsen St. Mary's. I absolutely what I saw in the postseason last year was a testament to the depth of what they have. And Remsen St. Mary's is a perennial team here. I grew up playing for Akron Westfield back in my high school days, and Remsen St. Mary's back then was a juggernaut. I always remember the Andy Steichen days. I mean, those who remember Andy Steichen, you just get guys that shoot missiles, right? And in the end, it's the pedigree. Coach Harpinaut does a fantastic job of making sure that every year the expectation is set that we're going to go to the title. And when you talk with him, when you talk with his coaching staff, you get it. So for me, I look at a team that I go, okay, who without a doubt could I say would belong in the state title game that I have a lot of confidence in. And to be honest, it's them. I mean, Remsen St. Mary's. Again, shout out to the War Eagle Conference, which has once again put at least two teams in the state tournament. I mean it's just it's crazy to think about everything that they do. But again, Remsen St. Mary's continues to put it out there, and again they got offense. Daniel Locks is a guy that I will kid you not, Cade. I got the chance to see them against Akron Westfield, and I saw this kid park it dead center, deepest part of the ballpark, like it was just swatting a fly. I mean, the guy has bat to ball skills like I don't think anyone else in this class does, and he is honestly. And again, I believe he's a top 50 guy, top 100 guy in terms of PBR and perfect game list. Colin Homan. How many times have we talked about him? The
Yeah.
diversity that he brings to the table, it is unmatched. Landon Walschmidt is another guy that will just come up there, and whether it's defensively, offensively, he's going to give you that. Again, you had 4 or 5 guys with at least 40 total bases or more, and you only lose one of that going into this season. And on the other end of that, you only lose 4 strikeouts on the pitching side of things. And again, Holman is a big part of that. We mentioned the diversity, Walschmidt and Klein. By the way, an eighth grader parking it into the number 3 spot at 40 strikeouts on that list. So again, they deserve it in there for me. And they're going to be one of the teams, honestly, that I look at that I want to see when it comes to this. And again, I went through so many different teams, Cade, and who could end up there. Uh, I loved what I saw from Wapsie Valley. Linville Sully could easily get back there again with who they are. St. Ansgar, I feel, has depth in order to get there, and even Martinsdale St. Mary's. Again, Coach Fitzpatrick he's a miracle worker, and that team was already good, and so he took him to a whole new level. But for me, I'm going to be honest. Unless Newman Catholic counts themselves out, right
Mhm.
now, if I had to play my cards close to the chest, or I had to kind of hedge my bets here, Newman Catholic, despite what they lost, because again, last year the year before we saw a lot of loss, in terms of Douglas Taylor and company, and they still had a pretty decent season. And so I'm gonna say, I don't. This isn't anywhere short of going the easy route. It truly is. I'm trying to find in a sea of great teams who might stand out, as the teams I mentioned, plus Newman Catholic. So I'm gonna have to say Remsen St. Mary's, Newman. See how that ends up. But again, I could be a genius, or I could be absolutely so far off base here, Kate.
Well, if those two teams do match up, they're going to have a heck of a time topping what they did in the semifinals last year,
You
going
can.
going in the longest postseason game in IHSA history. I remember we were in rain delays for 3 hours, and we ended up done before them that day.
I know.
So
Yeah, it was kind of justice in a sense for the times that we had to wait. Then they got the longest time. So I was okay with it.
yeah. Well, if it says anything, and my 1A title, I've also got Remsen St. Mary's, and it's a lot of the same reasons. I won't harp on it too much, but I mean, what they return and what they bring on a year in and year out basis can't go ignored. My other slot, I was going through a lot of teams just like you. I mean, it's tough. There's a lot of teams that are up there and ready for this. I went a different route. I went with a team you didn't mention, which I think is good because I like mentioning as many teams as possible.
Yeah.
But I went with Sigourney,
Oh
and
yeah, the Savages.
I,
Absolutely.
I like what the Savages bring back. This is a team that had their highest win total. They hit 21 wins last year. That's the most since they had 22 wins in 2010. So this is a team they've been very consistent. I mean, 18, 19 wins the last few years, but I think they're breaking out from above average to elite, and I think this is a year where they could get to the title and maybe end up on top of Class 1A. And a lot of it is to do with the Clarahan brothers. I mean, Caden's back for his senior year.
Yep.
Chase is back for his sophomore year. Both those guys are going to look to lead this team in innings, but it's not just those guys. They're a big reason, but this team returns a lot in the lineup, and they've got youth and they've got veteran leadership. And I know I talk about that a lot. Cole McKay is back as a senior. Isaac Brunn's back as a senior. They got Lincoln Power back as an underclassman. With some offseason of developing and more varsity at bats and a deeper lineup, this is a team that's going to be a really tough out. And really, Linville Sully was their bugaboo last year. I mean, half
Yeah.
their losses basically came to Linville Sully, and that's who they fell to in the quarterfinal, 2-0. I mean, so that challenge isn't going away. Linville Sully is still going to be there. There's zero doubt about that. But I like what the Savages bring back, and they're going to be hungry. And I love picking teams that have experience at state tournaments, and Sigourney has that. So I'm going to roll with them. Remsen St. Mary's versus Savages, Andrew. So I like our 1A pick. What you got for 2A?
For me, man, I 2A is I'm going to start first off, and I'm going to say this is a team that the last couple of years has not found a way to make it to state with the way we think they really could get upended here right at the last second, and that's Van Meter. I
Mm.
Coach Baumover truly is a guy that can make anybody excel at the highest level that they possibly want to be, and of course you got another more going through another Iowa commit, I should say as well. But Cole Moore, the chance he has been one. You mentioned some of the spring league circuits, and Moore is one of the top guys when it takes a look at the Iowa Sticks, and for good reason for what he does. He has been on everybody's radar for quite some time, and again, it's just this is a team that honestly I think was so close last year and honestly, I feel like could. I think is going to make it back, And again, what they've run into the last couple of years is just really, really good pitching at the right, or for them, the wrong time.
Hmm.
And that's where, it just goes to show even the best teams can falter. It's just one game at a time. So again, I think Van Meter is going to be a team that honestly they have the depth again that they bring back. They have guys again beyond that really are really going to showcase a lot of things. And they got power again. And I know that guys coming up will have that power as well. So the power numbers returning may not show up as well as we thought, but I guarantee you they're still going to have some pop in that bat. Look for a lot of extra bases this year for Van Meter. And then I will admit, one of the teams, I'm going to switch up a little bit. I had a 1A, 2A, or 1A, 2A kind of thing here. As much as I liked Pleasantville, I'm going to go a little different route here. And I'm going to say Sheraton, a team that, again,
Mm.
knows how to grace the state tournament. They did so. And what they do is they bring back nearly 90% of their pitching. And what do we know to be true? What did I just say? Pitching can take down some of the top teams. And again, I love what I saw from Sheraton's pitching last year. Offensively, they bring enough back that I feel like they have a lot of good. Again, Brock is a guy that I feel like has had a good amount of experience up to this point. Again, he brings back over 60 total bases. And again, what you get here are guys that may not have strike out Offenberger is a guy that only struck out 8. So they have patience at the plate. And I think this may be a little bit of a sleeper pick in terms of getting to the title game. But again, we saw, again, Van Meter being a perfect example, Mid Prairie as well. Teams that can get upended late. Sheraton has the pitching to do that. So if I had to hedge my bets, I would say Van Meter Sheraton would meet up again in the state title game.
Good. I like it. This is fun because I don't know who you're gonna pick, so I'm kind of on the edge of my seat seeing who you're going with. um, but I also have Van Meter.
There you go.
I think it's been too long since we've seen Van Meter in Merchants Park, and we talked. I felt like we talked all last year about how them not making it kind of woke a sleeping giant. Where here you go, 2 years
Mm-hmm.
in a row they end up one game short. I mean, this team's hungry to get back there, and they're not just hungry. I mean, this team's loaded.
Yeah.
There's no pointing otherwise. This team is a state championship caliber team. At this point, they just got to get there and do
Yep.
it. So I mean, the pieces are there. You just got to lock it in. But 2A is interesting because a lot of these top contenders lose a lot. I mean, Underwood. That's a state champ that just loses a lot. It's hard to know who's going to
Yeah.
fill in. New Hampton, another team, they lose a lot. West Marshall's fun. They bring back a lot. But my second team that I went with, I ended up going with Pleasantville.
Yeah.
I know you kind of briefly mentioned them, but I just get the vibes from Underwood a few years ago when they made it and they lost and they just brought literally everything back, and we just knew what that Underwood team was capable. They go on and they win a state title, and I'm getting that vibes from
Yeah.
Pleasantville, and they come back and they're still so young. I mean, Bingham, Phillips, Kennedy, those guys were freshmen last year.
Yeah.
Those guys were scary. They beat Des Moines Christian in the sub-state game. I mean, Des Moines Christian was a really, really good team last year. Rossback, I mean, there's just stars up and down the lineup. They're so youthful. It felt like they lost a lot of close regular season games. But I think that's only going to bode well. Playing in those close games just teaches you so much about baseball, and
Mm-hmm.
going out in 10 running teams in 5 innings every night. As much as that shows how good you are, you learn a lot in those close games. And I think these guys learned a lot last year. And I think it's this team is just ready to take it to another level. So my 2A title game, I do have Van Meter and Pleasantville. And plus Pleasantville made it last year to the quarters. They lost, but I think that experience of going to Merchants Park, seeing that crowd, hearing that crowd, playing in that stadium, it's going to bode well if they can get there a second time. And I think that's I don't know. I got Van Meter Pleasantville. I like that. I think 2A is going to be a ton of fun, and 2A a lot of question marks in this class. I mean, this is the class I'd say we don't know as much about.
Yeah. Especially from last year when we knew more with
Yeah.
as much returning, and again now, again, it's the joy of it though. You never know what you're gonna get, and in the end,
Mhm.
it's the wild wild west in 2A for sure.
Yeah.
But for me, as we move up the ladder here, so to speak, I want to look at 3A, and I want to say
Mhm.
that for me, uh, man, this was also kind of one of those. It's just kind of tough, but I the team that I'm going to go ahead and say that I think I would be honestly surprised not to make it there is Wahlert Catholic. I mean, the Golden Eagles kind of fell on a little bit of injury bug and a little bit of healing just got really, really hot at the wrong time for them. But they, to me, are the most complete team because not only do you have guys again Will Specht. Again, we know the lineage of the Specht family and what they do. But gosh, you got a lot of guys that again now have 2, 3 years experience in a schedule that for the last 5 years here, Cade, has been one of the top 3, if not the number 1 ranked schedule in Class 3A. That's what Waller Catholic has had to deal with, and you get guys like that. So again, you get Will Specht, Fodi Rigopoulos, again, Illinois commit, going to D1 Big Ten land here. But beyond that, you get honestly one of I feel the most underrated catchers in the game, Bodie Nagelmaker. I feel like he didn't get as much love as he really should have last year. And then, oh, by the way, the utility star that I feel is going to have the biggest breakout season, Brandon Cummer, the sophomore from last year. I got to see him pitch twice, and again against top five ranked teams at the time. And those guys, none of those teams ended up with more than 3 to 4 hits in that game. So it shows what you get from the diversity standpoint there. But beyond that, I mean, Carter Brandt, JP Elbert is a freshman that just stood out last year. He was on one of our all-time our freshman phenoms list last year. So, or again, a underclassmen list, I should say, to start off at last year. So, Wahlert to me feels the most complete. They feel like a team that is honestly. I get a lot of Van Meter / Underwood vibes from them. They get
Mhm.
so close. They've been to the state tournament. Now they're going to turn it up and they're going to go ahead and I think they're going to go ahead to the state title game as well. And then you talk about with Pleasantville here, Kate, not losing very much.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, for me, Pella's that team.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I might have stolen the thunder there. But Pella, gosh, they bring back so much. And I, even though I said Wahlert seems like the most complete team, Pella is a team that we saw the evolution of the Dutch last year, Kate. We saw the
Mhm.
evolution of how they go. Isaiah Kettler from the get go really proved why Southern Illinois was so fast to go after him and why he ended up there or will be going there, I should say. But again, this team made it to state, and honestly, I got the chance to talk with Blake Cowman at the Spring League for PBR, and he even talked about it. He talked, what, honestly, we surprised a lot of teams last year. We didn't know where we were even going to come close to. And this was a team that nearly got 10 runs right out of the gate by Bondurant Farrar in that 2025 or 4 season. They almost got run ruled right out of the start of the season. And what happens after that? They make the deep postseason run. I think they got guys that just know how to play the game. You mentioned him. Now I'm watching him every single time. But, Nathan Carey is a guy that I continue to watch pretty highly. Again, I mentioned Lake Calman, but Anderson Sherm, you have
Mhm.
mentioned him. I continually watch him on Instagram now. It's almost a daily thing now, and I go, the guy knows more about the game than I think I do, and I have a few more years on him. Shout out to his dad who knows the game very well as well. But it seems like this is a team that knows how to beat you mentally as well as physically. And again, you go down the list here, so many guys that you gotta like. And again, I do like their pitching. Again, it wasn't always flashy, but Tegan Hoekstra, I
Yeah.
and I've also seen the guy park a home run. The guy can pitch; he can park one out of the park. I just there's so many guys that can do so many different things. Pella for me, again, I might eat my words here by saying Wallert's the most complete team. Pella may just earn that spot here this year as well.
I would not be upset if we have Wahlert Catholic and Pella going for 3A title in late July. I will say though, like kind of looking back at last year, you said how Wahlert Catholic just kind of fell short. Something that doesn't really get talked about. I know they're not going to be ones to make excuses for themselves, but they got kind of the butt end of that delay. I mean, they
Yeah,
were
they
supposed to be
did.
that night game. They got pushed back, had to play in the morning, scrap out a really good win over Central DeWitt. But in that state tournament, when that pitch count, like it's a big deal. And I know they're not going to be the ones to say that and make that excuse for themselves. But I'll go ahead and say that had a huge effect on how that state tournament played out. But sometimes it's just how the cookie crumbles. And I mean, in 2024, it just didn't go their way. So no, that team's going to be hungry and ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Pella, I knew when you started talking about teams bringing everybody back, Pella just screams. It just screams like this team's ready to go. I mean, Hoekstra, I mean, that kid was a sophomore last year, and he went toe to toe with
I know.
Bleecker in that quarterfinal game, and that was a really fun game. They fell short, obviously, but that was entertaining to watch. I think with Pella, what's going to be interesting, Andrew, is last year they were kind of under the radar. We talked about them in the postseason as like a sleeper team to make it. They made it, kind of surprised everybody. But now, I mean, target's on your back. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see teams carry that differently. And obviously with Pella, I'm sure they're going to handle it well. But it's a new year, and people are going to know this team's ready to go, and this is a
Oh
state
yeah.
title team. So you're going to get everyone's best punch on a nightly basis. Um,
Yeah.
Outside of those two, I'll say the other team I had is a familiar team in Class 3A, and I had Bishop Heelan in
There you
mind.
go. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of it's a little chalky, but I mean it's a state title game, and this is the best of the best. And I really like what Heelan brings back, and I like what they add. Obviously, with Gaswin coming in from Akron Westfield, that's a notable storyline. I mean, that kid shoved in Class 1A, and now he gets thrown into that rotation with Lefevre and Wahab, and that's going to be another dangerous Heelan team out west, ready to go. And the lineup comes back, and I mean, like we were talking about Heelan going into the state tournament game. They don't play flashy; they just win and they do it right. And you saw in that state tournament game, or in the state tournament games that they played in. I mean, it never was really flashy. They did the little things. They played small ball. They fielded correctly, and they throw strikes. And those teams are really hard to beat when they're good. And so Heelan's another team that I have in my state title game. That three A is gonna be fun. I'd say 3A we know a lot more about than 2A, Andrew.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's one of those that goes in cycles. Again, we get these teams that have slowly built on up, and that's what we get here with this team. I will say I that Heelan pick is not as far off as some people may think. Again,
Right.
I love your thoughts on that. Honestly, I think shout out to Erickson, who could very well go for the home run record for Heelan this year. I predict he will. He had a heck of a year last year with the long ball as well. But yeah, I like him an awful lot when it comes to that. But can't talk too much on that because now we got to flip things over here, Cabe. We got to talk about 4A, and this is honestly this is loaded for me.
Yeah.
Again, I hope I don't steal too much thunder when it comes to this,
Go
but
crazy.
uh, Pleasant Valley, they've got to be a team for me that you have to keep an eye on. I think honestly, with the addition of Milo Kelly, you get a premier backstop again with the fielding and with the
Mm,
bat. You already have Lincoln Dalton on the mound leading a very good pitching squad that has depth to it. And now you're going to add another offensive piece to that. Last year we saw what they could do again with again, to be honest, a little bit less than what Milo Kelly will bring. And honestly, again, Milo Kelly's a top 5 guy in the PBR rankings. He is truly a step above a lot of athletes here. So, and again, not just him, but truly they do have a lot there. Coach Steckline has always has these guys ready to go. Again, truly a coaching staff that I think colleges would want to have. And you have to look at this team as a huge threat. And last year, similar to Pella, what were we going to get out of them? Honestly, they kind of surprised a lot of people just getting into the state tournament, and they really went toe to toe in that opening round. They did everything they could and more. Obviously, it didn't pan out for them, but in the end, they had a very competitive game, and it showed what they're capable of doing. Again, they just ran into the buzzsaw known as Kennedy at that point, the eventual champs. But again, Pleasant Valley for me is a team that I looked at this, and as many teams as I could put in there, Cade, I can't go without putting Pleasant Valley in. I do think that they are a title contender. I do think that they will go far. I'm not trying to put any bad voodoo. I'm knocking on wood here because I truly think that this is a team that can go the distance. But with that, I was back and forth. I'll be honest. I went to the CIML for this one, and I went. There on one hand, I have Waukee, who had not only a strong bounce back year, but a fantastic bounce back year after the sub 500 year they had prior, and they come back as the only CIML team to have two guys with 40 plus hits. I will commit Gavin DeJesus as well as South Dakota State commit, and again Grant Sorensen there as well. So two guys that again the Swiss Army knives can go anywhere. But there's also where I get, man, there's a storyline to be looked at here. And for so many people I know are already looking at the writing on the wall, Barta ends up on top. And I think for Johnston, it's not out of the realm of possibility to go, okay, they could be a state title team. How many years have they been in the state title game over the last 10? You know, they've dominated this in terms of making it there, let alone just getting there. And you know what? A couple of years ago, you had other media members, you had other members of the press, including myself, basically claiming, you know what, Johnson's the juggernaut. Barta should get a statue made. And, you know, in his final farewell season, you know that there's going to be far more than just Johnston fans that want him to go out on top, mainly because of what he's done for the game. He has been so cerebral with the game. He has sent so many guys on to the next level because he has had faith in them, and he has a lot of guys to have faith in. You look you look at the state tournament when they go there, they fill the dugout with so many people because and that's his doing. You know, he has a lot of people that want to follow him because of what he is, the character he brings, everything of that nature. So again, I see the storyline. I see it. Whether that comes through or not is another thing. But for me, I do see Pleasant Valley. I do see Johnston in there. Again, shout out to Waukee and all, but that's my 4A pick. Again, I could eat my words within the first week. Who knows? But I do believe, Kate, that if I had to pick, hedge my bets, those are the teams.
Yeah, well, you hand it off to me, and that's not easy. I like that. I think Pleasant Valley was kind of out of nowhere. I was not expecting that out of you, but when you look at it, it makes sense. And as long as you can talk it into making sense, it's all that matters.
Yeah,
We haven't even talked about Kennedy. I mean, this is another team
yeah.
that's going to be gunning to repeat. I mean, this team's not going to go down without a fight. Uh, I really like what Sioux City East brings back. They bring
Hmm.
back a ton, and with the state tournament in their backyard, you know they're not just going to want to make it. That's a team that followed DCG in the Snow State game. I think they learned a lot from that. Uh, I tell you what, though, I'm not one I'm not one to bet against the Dragons right now. A lot of question marks, but I just think about last year, Andrew, when we looked at this Johnson team, we're like, who's going to throw the innings? And we didn't know. And lo and behold, they figured it out and they get to the semis and they play in one of the best playoff games, state tournament games I've seen and against Kennedy. And that was a ton of fun. And there's still questions about this team. Who's going to fill in the roles in the lineup, but I mean, you know who's going to lead the way, and that's what I like doing. I like betting on those types of guys. Nuss, Kemmer, Minks. I mean, they have a core group of guys that have played a lot of CML baseball, and I'm willing to put my cards around them right now. We're going to learn a lot about them quickly. I mean, just
Yep.
like anything in those top conferences, CIML, MVC, you're going to learn a few weeks into the season who's legit and who's not. But I mean, like you said, Coach Barta is going to have them ready, and I mean, it's the story's there. It's just
Yeah.
now we got to see how it plays out. My other team, though, I'm going DCG.
Okay.
This is another team that's back and loaded and ready. They lose a little bit more than they did last year. Obviously, last year they kind of brought back everybody. The pitching is where the question mark is, but I saw Brady Smith throw in a game last year, and I've seen him on the circuit. He's been performing at a high level as a sophomore. He's looking to take over a lot of innings. Lincoln Harris, another guy that's going to take over a lot of innings for the Mustangs. And this is another team that's just been there the last few years. It hasn't gone how they wanted to. I mean, they tell you that, but there's value in going and going through those state tournament days. And I mean, I'm a broken record talking about that, but it's something that needs to be said. And obviously with the lineup, Tate and Gray, Tate Perrin leading the way, those two are going to score a lot of runs for the Mustangs. So my 4A title, a lot of contenders, but right now I've got Johnson and I've got DCG.
And man, I honestly I can't argue with that. Got to see Gray in some spring league games, and he's a towering figure. I don't know if anybody realized that. You know, you can see him on the broadcast, you can see him from a distance, but Oregon went out and got him for a reason, and he truly is. He is the man, the myth, the legend that will soon be. But yeah, so that is our 1 through 4A. Again, Call us crazy or call us geniuses. Whatever hat you want us to wear, we can wear that just fine here for sure. But man, Cade, we could do this probably 20 different times, have 15 different outcomes, and we'd still be called crazy or genius. So,
Yeah.
eh,
The only thing in between it is time to figure out.
yep. Yeah. What are you gonna put us in? What pedestal are you gonna put us on? And we'll rock it from there. But in the meantime, while we wait, and of course, as we wait for the season to kick off, again, I have to have you look again at all the great content that will be coming at rockfin.com/IAbaseball. All this can't miss content is highlighting what we've talked about and more, and it's just going to get you ready for what the season will bring. So please get involved in there. As Cade mentioned, a lot of great things for subscribers to really get a hold of as well. So please get in touch there and just comment whatever your thoughts are uh, throughout the season. If there's big plays to highlight, we want to highlight them. Big performances, highlight them as well. And continue, please, to like, subscribe, spread the word, and all that jazz. But
Absolutely.
without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna. Yeah, it's late. We gotta go to bed. We gotta do stuff in the morning. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna hit the hay. But again, please hit up I Baseball and Rockfin. Hit us up on social media, anywhere you can contact us, including IABaseball, the number one at gmail.com, and you'll be able to get in touch with us in a different variety of ways there. But for myself, Brigade, hey, thanks for joining, and we will see you next time. Stay safe on the base paths.